I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about how to think like archaeologists. Okay, it's a really important concept about archaeology and also really for a lot of other sciences as well.
The boys in the water, that is an observation, obviously, right there.
So look all the water, the goat would butt him. That's an inference.
I just like one of these, Dad. I just like the
Yes, that's an
like a
arrowhead.
circle.
This is also part of an arrowhead.
Because wouldn't they attach like arrowheads to like spears? They make utilities because they use a lot of ceramics in order to like boil and like make certain foods.
So we figured that this could be associated with a more hunter-gatherer society simply because of the sharp nature of the objects and the types of activities that they would perform. So we figured we could date this approximately by comparing it to objects of similar styles.
Good, okay, so what activities do you see too?
Probably hunting, maybe some sort of like carving, like not necessarily carving, but just like crafting something.
Yeah.
But a lot of arrowhead type stuff, so probably just
The artifacts mainly tell you that they were very skilled with intricate details because of the ways that they had different patterns and designs.
Perfect, excellent. Before we begin, I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about what archaeology is. How many people, when they hear the word archaeology, what do you think of?
Artifacts.
Artifacts, excellent. Anybody else? Indiana Jones. Okay, just digging stuff. How many of you were thinking, gee, what about dinos? Dinosaurs? Some of you? Actually, what is that? That's really not archaeology. Paleontology. Use a lot of the same tools, but it's actually a little bit different discipline, right? You're dealing with things that are millions of years old. We're not dealing with quite that long, right? And ours isn't usually fossilized necessarily. When we think about archaeology, a lot of us think of this guy, right? What's the problem with Indiana Jones? Do you ever see this guy as an archaeologist ever stopping and taking notes? Do you ever see him working in the lab much? Do you think Hollywood has a good idea of what archaeology is about? It's kind of a little skewed, right? And Hollywood's not the only one. What about the gaming industry, other movies? Tomb Raider, they're just looking for what? Treasure, right? This isn't really what archaeology is about, is it? Archaeology is a lot about digging, but for about every hour we're out in the field, we spend about 8 hours in the lab. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about a couple concepts. Who's ever heard of the word observation? Okay. Can anybody tell me a definition of it?
Observation is something that you notice that you observe when you're looking at something and basically recording those observations.
So it's something you notice, right? Is what you said? So yes, something you notice, something you what? Maybe see with your eyes. Sometimes it could be something you touch or feel, but it's something that's tangible, right? How about this word? Inference, making an educated guess. So if I happen to have some prior information or knowledge, it tells me a little bit about certain things. Like there's teepees over here, right? What does that infer? Maybe they were native peoples living in those teepees. What if they got traded in? What's another thing? Would you say?
The styles of time.
Got it. The styles, yeah. Okay, so what activities do you see too?
probably hunting, maybe
Okay.
some sort of like carving, like not necessarily carving, but just like crafting something.
Yeah.
But a lot of arrowhead type stuff, so probably tools. Yeah, tools.
That sounds good to me. Yeah. What would happen if you didn't have all the artifacts that you got in your site and only had some of them? Would your inferences be weaker or more robust?
More robust, because
Have as many?
well, it depends on what you didn't have as many of. Like for ours, if we didn't have it, as much littering stuff, then we could assume that it was only from the earlier time period because there isn't anything as modern.
For us, if we didn't have as much pottery as we had, it would have been we wouldn't have been able to make as good of inferences because you probably wouldn't have been able to get a larger sample size of the and the different markings on the pottery, which is really important in determining the date.
Right.
So we wouldn't be able to make inferences as to how old it is because we only had a small sample of the markings.
We are on an incredible, significantly important site that was purchased by the Archaeological Conservancy to protect it forever as an archaeological resource. And thanks to the help of many volunteers and site stewards, it's protected and also shared with others.
Welcome to Shalano Valley. I'm Russ. In a minute, we're going to go through this crack in the rock, if you decide to do so. The Utes and all Native Americans pretty much believe that we are actually born from Mother Earth, okay? That we emerged from Mother Earth. Now you look back there, and the journey we just made, we just came out of Mother Earth.
I thought it was very spiritual, because if you look, as soon as you get out, it looks like you're coming out of Earth. Just as they believed that all humans came from Earth.
We talk about that really thin line, and it's coming out of this crack here. This is called rock incorporation, and it represents this whole valley that's right behind you. The second, they're using this again as a crack cave you just came out of. So he's coming out of hibernation, he's going up to the tree, he does that little dance in front of it. Now this is a sacred tree because it has roots on the bottom, it has 5 branches, and it forks at the top. So it's uniting that upper world with the underworld that way that we'll see at the sacred tree at the very end.